we're gonna have to modify our pawn. Our pawn is basically the entity of the player, who is, in this case, just a camera. So let's go to Blueprint, FPS character, and double click on it. Now there is already a few things here that are from the default version of it. For now, we're not really interested into that. We're gonna have to modify this a bit later, but let's just get our widget in. To do that, right click and write even begin play. That means that this event will fire as soon as the game starts. In our case, we'll want the widget to appear right away. So drag from it and write create widget. And it will ask you which one. You can either click on the drop menu and select widget my control, or you could also just select it inside the browser and click the little arrow. Now we have a widget. Let's first save it as a variable. My widget. That means that we can call it later. We can use its information later on. And that's kind of storing the phone number of a friend, so you can call it when you need it. From the widget, drag it, add to viewport. And that should be all to get your widget. So now if you play it, you can see that you have the widget control in here. Now there is two issues with that. One, the mouse controls the camera. Second, I don't even see the cursor. We would need two modes. One where we can move the camera and one where we can click on the UI. So let's do that. Let's reopen our character. And right now you can see that the mouse inputs are changing the controller rotation, yawn and pitch. So we'd want that to happen only when we decide to move the camera. The rest of the time, we'd want a cursor. So let's get rid of this for now. Let's move it around. So we need to tell him, okay, I want the possibility to move right now, or I don't. So a good way to do that is, for example, to use the right-click button. If you hold it, then the camera moves. If you let it go, then your mouse gets control for the cursor. And it's pretty easy to set up. The first thing we need is our mouse right button. Again, this is an event that will trigger once press and once release. Now let's create something like a variable to let us know when we can go through or not. So let's click a new variable and let's call it camera move. And the type is a boolean. That means true or false. Compile. By default is false, which is perfect. Now in here we'll want to block that input as long as this one is false and let it go only when it's true. So first of all, let's create a branch. You can right click and write branch or just hold B on your keyboard and click. Both way works. Plug it and remake the connection. Now it asks a condition. By default the condition here is true, is check. The condition will be our camera move. So you can drag it in here with holding control on your keyboard. If you drag it without holding anything, it will ask you if you want to get or set it. Or, easier way, you can drag it directly into the pin and Unreal will know what to do. Connect it back. Okay, now when this condition is true, it can go and rotate the camera. When it's false, it does nothing. Let's set up now when this becomes true or false. The same way we drag it with control, if you drag it with hold, it will be a set. Set means that we overwrite its value. So when it's pressed, it becomes true. When the button is released, it becomes false. Let's compile and let's test that. If I click play, if I move the mouse, nothing happens. If I hold the right click button, now I can move the camera. Perfect, that's what we wanted. There is only one more issue. I don't see where is my mouse. So I cannot really click on wall and curtain. Let's press escape and let's fix that. Back in our character, in our pawn, let's go on even begin play. And let's take something called a controller. Get player controller. That's what control your pawn and what decide the action. So from the controller, drag it and say show mouse cursor. By default, this is set to false because you don't want a mouse being shown in a game, but you can set it to true. Connect it and check the box. That's as simple as that. Now if we press play, I have a mouse and I can click my button. Right now nothing happened, but they work. If I click here, nothing happened. If I right click, I can move the camera. As soon as I let go of the right click, the UI is controlled again. Let's save this. Now the next step would be to actually have the button do something. So we'll do that in our widget.